going back, if you're starting a new business today, it's a little more of a struggle, but there's more resources as well. I invested in people and I poured money back into them, and I took a lot smaller paychecks because of that. I have people today that have been with me close to 30 years. I think the key was I want to keep my freedom. Okay, so people say, well, I want to open my own business because then I'll have freedom. Well, it's the exact opposite, actually. When you're building a new business, you're building a new franchise, even if it's your first restaurant, build it as if you're going to sell it. Run it as if you want to sell it one day.
Check this out. Today's guest and friend of mine, Peter, has owned over 47 Dunkin Donuts, 15 Subways, 2 Rosati franchises, gas stations, quiznos, and more. When I think about someone who's built an incredible franchise empire, it's Peter. Now, this episode was one of the most jam-packed episodes with both strategic and tactical insights. We talked about Peter negotiating a store development agreement, where if he hadn't had a specific clause in his lease, he probably would have never been able to even get the rights to buy his first 3 Dunkin Donuts and then start building out the rest. He explains why he sold pieces of his franchise portfolio over the years. And we also talk about how to structure your entities when scaling multiple locations, how not to get stuck working in the business, and how he's been able to recruit, hire, and train the right people. We also dive into how he's reduced his turnover from 140% all the way down to less than 30%. So however you take notes, get it ready because you're in for a special treat. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Franchise Empire Show. I have Peter here, who's a friend and an epic businessman, as you heard from the intro. Peter, thanks for coming on.
Tariq, thanks for having me. This is great. You've asked me today to speak a little bit about my experience in the franchise business, multi-unit operations, and growing a business from one franchise. I give you a little bit of background on myself. I started working in my family business in the 80s and from the time I was 13 years old and kind of worked in there and slowly took it over as just a souvenir shop near the interstate. In later years, I added some gas pumps in the front of it and kind of got in the gas business. Well, I stayed in the gas business for 25 years, but during that time I was developing gas stations and convenience stores. I decided to put Subway sandwich shops in because I felt that I wanted a one-stop shop, and this was 1995 at this time, and it wasn't really a thing back then. So I put the Subways in. I talked Subway and Mobil Oil into letting me put it in the gas station. It was branded Mobil at the time. Most of my stations were. And I found that the franchise restaurant business was very profitable, very easy to operate, much more profitable and easier to operate than gas stations. And so I started looking at more franchises. But as the years went on, we added any existing gas stations we added franchises to them, mostly Subway. I was a Subway franchisee for over 20 years. And as time went on in the mid 2000s, I started to lay back up for a moment. Dunkin Donuts, which has been the pinnacle of our success in this business. I started in 2003 because I had a gas station. I was leasing space to Dunkin. In that lease, I put in a clause that gave us a right of first refusal if the franchisee ever wanted to sell.
How did you know to put that clause in there? Because that changed everything. And my quick tiny interjection is my wife did the same thing when she was renting in a building where her art gallery was many years ago. And when it came time for that building to sell, she wound up being able to buy it, which was just a rare opportunity because of that clause too. So did someone tell you about that? How did you know about that?
Yes. Yeah. I had a friend of mine, and I would always, being very young in business, like everybody I dealt with was older than me mostly. And I would listen diligently to people, and I would make sure that I was, it was on, I was always paying attention. They suggested it. They were very good at negotiating, and so they really helped me out. And they they suggested you should put a right of first refusal always. And I said, okay, great, and I did. And when he decided to sell the Dunkins, he he I bought them, but what I bought was a store development agreement for 3 counties, because he owned the store development agreements for 3 counties, and so that was huge.
And
And
so
at the time,
explain what a store what that is.
that basically gives you the right to develop those areas, exclusive rights to develop those areas. So you are the only franchisee.
Wow.
And they don't do that anymore, because what they found is that there was he so you have the right to that area, but you are also bound to develop a certain amount of stores in that amount of time as well, right? So you have to be on top of that. Then you have to look forward to what resources you have to do this, because you're making a commitment and you have to meet it, or you will be penalized by the franchisor. So I got that. I got 3 stores in that deal. I was able to come up with the money to purchase it, which was a little tough. I didn't have that many resources at the time.
So when you
So
say come up with the money, like how does that look like nowadays? People can acquire a
there's
resale with 10% down and maybe get an SBA loan. So how did you structure that then? Was that like an SBA loan? Did you have to raise capital?
I was able to go through the bank that I had financed the other businesses with, but it was still a struggle because I wasn't financing any bricks and mortar. All of these Dunkins, any kind of franchise business like that, is blue sky. If you really think about it, you're leasing space, and I'm building out the space, and then I have to promise I'm going to make money.
Mm.
And it's so going back, if you're starting a new business today, it's a little more of a struggle, but but there's more resources as well, SBA and things like that now that we really didn't have access to back then. So I was in a little different situation because I already had the gas stations, so I kind of used those as a stepping stone. So we took Dunkin' and we started developing more of them. And what I realized is that this is way better than being in the gas station business, right? So
Why?
I slowly, because there's no profit in the gas stations. It was overhead is just tremendous. Um, so I started diversifying the gas stations. I kept some of the franchises in there. But during this time, it's very, very important. I was investing in people and upper management. I was paying people to do things so I didn't have to do them. It was an investment, and it was money that, okay, I could have, kept the money for myself and done all this stuff myself, but there's no growth in that because my talent was going out and finding the locations and getting another store built. Well, if I'm tied up in the office with accounting and payroll things and running around doing maintenance and things like this, I'm never going to grow. So I invested in people and I poured money back into them. And I took a lot smaller paychecks because of that. I have people today that have been with me close to 30 years.
Wow.
Most of our average upper management has been with me 20 years. And it's funny because they all started when they were young with me too, and kind of, stuck with me because this isn't a big corporate career, right? So they stuck with me. And my bookkeeper, my payroll and guy, HR guy, my head of construction. These guys are all 20 years, and I've got a number of people, team members in the field. I have a lady that's actually worked for me 32 years. She's been with me since the beginning, and she's retiring the end of September.
So,
Very
Peter,
important if you want to
I want
grow.
to unpack this a little bit because it's so interesting. I mean, it just you say it so casually, but it's really fast. But it's really fascinating, right? From my perspective, and I think from other people's perspective, which is number one. Just to be clear, what you're saying is you made the hard decision early on to see a lower number on your profit and loss to pay yourself less money with the long-term focus in mind of, okay, and the intentionality of take less now to build out something for the long term, which obviously worked out for you with
Right.
all that you've owned.
Yeah. And I think the key was I want to keep my freedom. Okay, so people say, well, I want to open my own business because then I'll have freedom. Well, it's the exact opposite, actually. I long some days to be an employee and be able to clock out and go home and not have any thoughts about the business until I'm scheduled the next day, right? I've never had that, but I've always wanted to keep my freedom because my freedom and creativity are what is going to build my company. So I had to, bring people in, and cover these positions as they came up. And if I had to pay, I had to pay. And I tell you, there were some years when we broke even. Like we made very little money, but it was
Mm.
an investment into the future. And today we're a developer, we're an operator. I have 200 employees working for me now, but I have key people that have been with me a long time. And that's why we're successful because we can move fast and we do a number of facets that most people don't do.
Yeah.
The development and operations and maintenance and our own internal bookkeeping and accounting and everything.
Yeah.
So
Incredible.
now we're more profitable than ever because we do that.
Yeah.
It's all in house, right?
Which is amazing. And so there's a couple questions that I want to ask. But what do you own now? Because you've owned what, over about 47 Dunkin Donuts over the years, 15 Subways, two Rosatis, bunch of gas stations. What does your portfolio look like today?
So today we have 12 Dunkin Donuts that we're operating and two Rosatis. We've just signed a deal to start developing Jimmy John's. Why after all these years do I have 12 Dunkins and not 100 Dunkins? Because I don't need them. I don't want to have that, I do well with what I'm doing. And we're a developer, so we've over the years we have developed over 45, 46 Dunkins now. We've sold pockets of them as opportunity has come up. And I have a reason why. And somebody asked this question yesterday. Actually, the head of development for Jimmy John's asked, why have I sold my businesses? Because I look at it as a way, as something that if I'm making, let's say I'm making $50,000 a year in this business, I can sell it and net 500,000. I've just taken 10 years of profit out of it,
Mm.
right? But I didn't have to run it. And people say, well, there's tax implications. Yes, but if I make $50,000 this year, I have to pay tax on that money. So if I make 500,000 and sell the business, I basically didn't have to run the business for the next 10 years. So I don't like holding on to things. So what I've held on to is all the best stores
Mm.
and kept those best stores through the years. And they're in different counties. And then we've developed around those stores sometimes a few other stores and created a small network. Palm Beach County, Okeechobee County. We've done the same thing. Fort Pierce. So if the opportunity's there and you can sell something, take out your future profit, the money you would have to work for the next 10 years, get it today. You can do more with it. You
Yeah.
can reinvest it in another one that maybe now you don't have a mortgage. So and it's a lesson I learned to not have all these balls in the air. It doesn't mean a lot that you have so many businesses because you have to still operate them, and every one of those entities has to be profitable. So keep it to where you can manage it and make a good living. Don't
And
get
it's been
greedy.
essentially what you've done is the term take some chips off the table, right? It's no different than someone putting some the core concept is no different than someone putting money in the market, right? And then they have gains and you go ahead and take some of those gains off and then you can, redistribute that capital elsewhere. So, I think it's a very distinct lesson for folks that, hey, you don't know, one, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You don't have to hold on to these things forever. I recently interviewed a guy, Paul Reeser. He actually has a cool YouTube channel, but him and his family owned over 38 Sonic locations in the real estate. And they did wind up holding on to all of them and had a massive exit to private equity with selling all of the land and the buildings and the businesses and, all of that stuff. But I know that he said that, over the course of the years, there were some times where things got sketchy because of how much leverage they were using in order to, continue to, put up land and other stores as collateral and keep going and stuff like that. So it seems like your strategy can be used in a way to manage the financial stress and pressure of it all, to kind of deleverage yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. It always, when you're building a new business, you're building a new franchise, even if it's your first restaurant, build it as if you're going to sell it. Run it as if you want to sell it one day.
Hey, so I recently put together a list of 5 low-cost franchises that make $1 million or more. If you want to see that list, then click the link below in the description or go to franchiseempire.com/low cost. Let's get back to the episode.
So what does that mean? First of all, in your lease, make sure you have an assignment clause where you can assign it to another Dunkin franchisee without permission from the landlord, because the landlord controls whether you can sell your business or not. And with standard leases, you cannot sell your business. So you cannot assign it without their approval. And too many times I've seen where people don't put that in there and they get stuck, or the landlord blackmails them on the way out and says, you're able to, yeah, you can sell, but you have to pay us $50,000. We'll sign off on it.
Oh.
And there's really no law to keep them from doing that because they control the lease and the building. What's always think that way.
Yeah. And on that topic, what's your perspective on personal guarantees? Because when we sold our stores, I didn't know what I didn't know on the front end. I didn't know to try to negotiate that at some point the personal guarantee falls off. So how does that
Now, you have to be very careful with personal guarantees. We're building 2 new stores this year, and I just struggle with these landlords because the leases come over and they're so one-sided they could sink the Titanic. It's crazy. And they'll say, yes, you can sell your store, you can assign it, but you have to stay on as as a personal guarantor. And I'm like, but that's crazy. I don't have control of the business, right?
Yes.
Which would mean that my purchase and sale agreement with the new buyer has to have a clause in there that basically says, if you fail, I can come back and take my business back. It becomes a whole new animal because I'm personally guaranteeing that space. I need to be able to go back in that space and operate it and pay the rent. So there's, so what we've been able to negotiate, most of the time you can negotiate out of that. And you're saying if another Dunkin franchisee comes in, they're approved by Dunkin, they have a $500,000 net worth and so on and so forth, and they sign the same guarantee, then you'll let me out. Most landlords will go with that. I wasn't successful with Publix in one of their shopping centers where they want me to stay on for a year. That's why I was able to get it down to a year, which I agreed.
Which is still better than being on for the entire duration of the lease.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which is what most landlords try to do.
Oh, yeah, that's where they'll start. But that is negotiable. Absolutely. The assignment clause, the personal guarantees are very, very important. Almost every lease is triple net now. You can't get out of that. You own the building, basically, but you don't.
And for people that don't know what triple net is, what does that mean?
I mean, you're responsible for everything. So any kind of breakdowns, the only thing the landlord's normally still responsible for is the roof and the structure of the building. But you're responsible for everything else that goes wrong. Air conditioning units. For example, I have a freestanding Dunkin Donuts I'm leasing from a shopping center. It's out in the front of the shopping center. And we just had to spend $37,000 to replace the air conditioners. It's not my building. So that's triple net. Everything is you. It's not like living in an apartment and your air conditioner goes bad and you call the landlord. You're responsible for everything. So you read that very carefully because some of the landlords now are trying to add in you're responsible for the roof as well.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
don't know what shape the roof is in when I buy at the store, when I rent the store, right? So yeah, yeah. And the best thing is to learn how to read leases yourself.
Mm,
That's key because attorneys zero in on certain things. Attorney doesn't know you want to sell your business one day. The assignment clause is probably not going to even be on their radar. Um, the personal guarantee will and the basics, but that assignment is usually never on their radar. That's very, very important. And when I say run your business as if you're going to sell it someday, always make sure everything is run correctly through there. The accounting is done well. You have a good accountant that's doing, because if somebody wants to buy your business, it's normally going to be a multiple of the net profit, whatever's left over at the end of the day for you. Whatever's that bottom line is what your business is worth.
wow. And
So
yeah, we recently had we have a team of some franchise coaches that are multi-unit owners, and so some franchisees that come in saying, "Hey, we want help with our businesses." Well, our coaching team will work with them. And there was a guy that he owns three sandwich franchises. I won't say the type of what specific brand it is, um, but he was running all of the stores through this through the same profit and loss statement, not separating out the entities or anything like that. And look, to be fair, I laugh in the sense of just because it's something that you learn along the way. And as you're saying, you
mhm.
have to have these things cleaned up. But the average person who's never, been an entrepreneur before, maybe been in the corporate life, corporate world all of their life, they may not know the intricacies of these kind of simple structural things. So, can you walk us through? I know you were kind of alluding to that. How do you structure owning that many businesses? Is there a holding company? Does each store have its own LLC? Like, what? Walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, and so this is something I learned as well. I had a partner years ago in some of my Dunkins, and very, very sharp, sharp businessman, and I learned a lot from him. One of them was that assignment. Always build your business to be prepared to sell it, because that's what he did. He built
Mm,
and flipped businesses. So I learned what I needed to learn from him for selling, right? So you take the expertise of people that you meet and don't ever discount anybody. Sit down with everybody. You're going to learn a little bit from every single person. So every one of our stores is its own LLC. Every single store should be separated out as an LLC. You
why?
can do which, and then because if you want to sell it to begin with, I have one tax return that I can show you. I can break it out easily. It's not tied in with everything else. Let's say I got a loan. Well, what if I have one corporation and five stores? That loan is going. It's, even if it's on one store, will be cross collateralized with all of your stores. Okay,
Mm,
big um, um, lesson that I learned, because in the beginning, it's exactly what I did. I had economy enterprises, and everything was owned by that C corporation. And guess what? When it came time to sell some of the gas stations and everything was under the same corporation, very hard to break it out. Break out the loans. The loans had to be rewritten. It was just a lot going
oh, so
on.
don't
So
have a holding company? Is that what you're saying? Don't.
no. So you have separate corporations. Okay, so in our case, we have separate corporations for every entity, separate checking accounts, separate tax returns. And it's a little more to do your tax returns, obviously, because you're paying per entity, and there's usually a minimum an accountant's going to do it for, right? So, but we have a management company. So our management company is Economy Hospitality Management. Now, that management company is paid by every store 5% of gross sales at the end of the month. Under that management company is our accounting people in the office, our HR people in the office, our maintenance guys that go out and fix all the equipment or pressure clean the stores or do the lawns or whatever it may be. And then I'm under that. My assistant is under that. So we keep the ball rolling, right? And so that is a separate company that the stores pay a management fee to.
Mm,
And then that is where um, I get my paycheck, if you will, and all these other people get their paychecks. And then we have a guy that's in the field doing analytics and surveys and such, and he gets paid from that management company as well. So you have all separate LLCs, and then you have a management company up here that is operating them all. So in the case today, if I wanted to break off one Dunkin' Donuts, it's its own corporation, its own everything, and I just it's seamless to do it that way.
Wow, that's really fascinating. And so why why food? I know that. I mean, I know that you started out in that business, but you know, why haven't you diversified to other industries or types of businesses?
I'm a person now. Look to wherever the opportunity is. Um, in 2007, 2000, between 2006 and 2009, I built 5 restaurants in Las Vegas. I helped develop restaurants in Las Vegas. There was opportunity there at that time. The economy was booming. Again, we have looked at food because we're kind of in that business, but we're actually in the retail business, I tell people. So
Mm,
I started out selling Florida souvenirs and citrus fruit on the side on a roadside stand. Okay. So it doesn't matter what you're retailing. I'm retailing sandwiches and cups of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. I'm retailing pizzas, or I'm retailing subs.
mm,
It doesn't matter. It's just a product that we are preparing and you're selling to the customers. They're really in the what else are we talking about really as franchises? There's so much out there you can franchise now. I can franchise dog grooming places. I get, again, I'm selling a product, right? Some franchises require a lot more customer service. I'm thinking ahead of the people that are going to operate it. If I'm going into something like a home care franchise, for the elderly, well, that's going to be complicated to staff that. It's going to be very hard to grow because the staffing is very difficult. I kind of saw that when my father was sick, and I had hired a company, and they are actually a franchise. And it was very hard. They couldn't keep help. Well, if they couldn't find the right help, because they have to be accredited too, these people have to be certain. So how am I going to build more? How am I going to expand that? Right.
mm.
So with the fast food industry, obviously frontline fast food workers are not always educated. A lot of them are teenagers. So we've created a culture around that frontline fast food worker, which kind of brings me to how our culture is now. In the past 3 years, I've changed it. And I changed it when COVID started. I really said I have to think outside the box because I can't get help. There's nobody to work. Everybody was in this huge labor crunch. And I said, well, statistically, it tells me statistics say that people will stay at a job if they're appreciated and if they like the environment they work at. And number three is pay. But what I saw in COVID is everybody kept wanting to pay more and more and more and more. We went from $8 an hour to $16 an hour trying to get employees at a Dunkin' Donuts. And, I was like, well, we can't survive like this. We're not going to be able to make it. Um, because if I hire a kid at $15 an hour, the guy down the street comes in and tells him he'll give him 16 and the kid walks out. Well, eventually you're going to go out of business trying to do this, right? Because how high can I raise my prices to pay more and more money? So I changed my culture to, to really who I really am, a Christian-based, family-owned business. We subscribe to Christian morals and ethics, and we're a family-owned business, and that's really how we advertise our company to prospective employees.
And when you say
And
that's how you advertise it, what do you mean? What do you mean by that
well, when we're
specifically?
well in our ads on Indeed or Hire Me, or when we're recruiting, um, and when we switched to this, it really exploded. Like the applications started pouring in, and our turnover, the industry standard is about 140% annually turnover in the fast food industry. Our turnover went from 148%, and I thought we were doing a good job, to 28% now.
That's incredible.
And it's has been unbelievable what has happened and the people that have come to us. And we not only just said we're going to do this, we actually put events together. We brought in inspirational speakers. I'm not going to say motivational because they're more inspirational speakers. We created full company events where we brought everybody in, and we really had a family. I'm not going to say team building either. I'm going to say family building where everybody got to know each other and saw themselves on the TV screens and talked to each other and had lunch together. And we've done a number of these events, and now we're planning family picnics we're going to start doing, where now you can start meeting these people's families that you work with, right?
Mm.
And their kids will play together. This is what is keeping people in the company. This is why turnover is so low. It's not, you can't reduce your turnover by paying more money. Don't ever go into a business thinking that, because most of our stores hire at minimum wage, and we have fantastic teams.
Mm.
So, and people love working here. So we operate a Slack workspace as well. And if you don't know what that is, it's almost like it's like a big message board, but it's private for your company, and you can set up all the channels you want. And every store has a channel and a wins channel and an inspiration channel and challenges. We do challenges, and I'll set up challenges each week of things that are going to help you grow. This week it was go out and do something kind for somebody or help somebody in need, or if there's a homeless person, buy them a dinner or something, and take a picture or post a video. And we have dozens of people that have answered this challenge on our Slack channel. And it's not only what they post, it's that everybody else can see it and read it and be inspired by it. So we get about, about one third of the company will usually participate. Um, and we give you a $50 Amazon gift card if you participate. So in the past year and a half, we've given out about $140,000 in gift cards. Now, but I'm paying minimum wage, right? So I'm still paying, I'm returning money. So you can earn another $50 a week. Um, and I'm giving this money back. It's a little incentive to do the challenge, but they don't realize when they do the challenge, they're actually growing. They're becoming a
Mm.
better person. If they're a better
Wow.
person in life, they're going to be a better person at work, right? So we had a faith challenge, and every day you had to watch a video. It was a 1 minute video of a pastor talking about faith, and you had to write what that meant. You had to do it for 5 days to meet the challenge. So by the end of the week, you probably learned something about faith, right? So and all of these things combined is what has reduced and it's increased our customer service. It's increased our sales year after year, because the employees are happy. The customers want to come back. The first thing I see in the morning is you at Dunkin getting my coffee. It's great if you're happy. Now I'm happy.
Hey, so if you want to learn the right way to own a money making franchise without putting your family at risk financially, then check out our free masterclass at franchiseempire.com/masterclass. Let's get back to the episode. How has your faith helped you in your business through times of, stress or fear, or just through some of those tough times? How do you get through that, and how do you I don't want to say leverage, because that almost feels kind of manipulative, but how do
Yeah.
you use your faith in order to get through those times?
And we have I could tell you dozens of stories. We could be on all day for that. But, you know, we, when we first started this, and we really, I was been a Christian my whole life, but, when we first started this and really said, that we need to look in this direction, we just prayed that God remove the wrong people and bring us the right people. And it
Mm.
was like within the next 6 months, it was a crazy exodus of people. Some of them were with me 15 years, store managers and assistant managers, and even some upper management. And my area manager, that was with me 5 years, gone. And I didn't have to fire a single one of them. And after they were gone, the people that appeared were the right people. And sales went up at these stores, and cleanliness increased and customer service increased. And I'll tell you and that's going back 3 years. Recently, we have two stores in Palm Beach that both had manager troubles, and we needed to fire the manager. And the area manager, the team leader, I call her, she was struggling because she's like, I can't just fire them and not have anybody. And I said, but you have to have faith. Her name's Elizabeth, and she's a very faithful person already. And she's like, yes, but the store has to open tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. We have hundreds of customers a day, right? You can't just fire the manager. I said, no. I said, we're going to pray about it. And it came down to, she finally did. And we said, we'll just bring managers from other stores and we'll cover until. So she fired the manager. I talked to her on the phone and she says, yeah, I let him go. And then the other manager at the other store had already left. So, she was covering that store kind of back and forth. And she says, and she's like, I hang up the phone with her. She calls me back in like 20 minutes. And she says, a guy just walked in that had put an application in and he wanted to meet with me. He had come back 2 or 3 times and I wasn't here. And she goes, he's amazing. He's amazing. She goes, this is this guy is going to be a dynamic manager. And I said, and he is. We hired him. He's one of the best management people we've ever hired off the street. We normally try to promote from within. So now we have one manager covering the store, right? So now we're still missing another manager. And he says, I had this girl that was working with me in the other network I was in. And would you like to bring her in and interview her? We hired her too. She's running the other store. And she's amazing too. She took the sales up about 30%. It's inside a hospital. Same customers every day because it's a hospital. It's pretty much the staff. Sales went up 30% with her running the store from the same people that are in the hospital. Okay, so what was our lesson? If you don't remove the wrong people, there's no room for the right people to come in. God needs you to take those people out. He'll send you. So this gentleman was waiting. Basically, God had him lined up. There was just nowhere for him to go.
Wow.
Right. So if he walked in and we already had these managers, we may have said, yeah, well, we'll call you. And it was the same day within the same hour. So it was already lined up. And this is just recently. And these things happen all the time. And just when we think we have somebody that's been with us a long time or good, they start to fall away. It's kind of like, now we're just basically, I want to say, strong in our faith with the company because so many people are on board that if you really don't fit, you're probably going to go. Something's going to pull you away and the right person will come in.
Yeah.
It's hard to have that faith.
Amazing. Absolutely
But
love
it works.
Last question, which is what does building a franchise empire mean to you?
No wonder it's the last question. So you mean as through my experience and advice for
just
others?
when you hear that term, what does that mean to you?
I would, if somebody said, I want to build a franchise empire, and what's your best advice? You start out with a company that first and foremost, find the franchise you wanted and find something that's your passion. You like food, you like customers, you better like customers and you better like the hours because food is hours. And so let's just use that as an example. Then find the franchise. Don't worry about what kind of food it is. That's irrelevant. If you want to be in food, you like food, that's irrelevant. But what I want to know is, does that franchisor own stores? Because I'm not going to be able to go very far with them. If they don't own stores, then they don't know what I'm going through. So the advice and the training they give me is going to be what they think I need. They must own corporate stores. I would never invest in a franchise if they don't actually own stores and have been successful with them.
Wow.
So now I want to build a franchise empire. What is my communication? What is the cost to get in? Where do I need to be? If I'm a Domino's pizza, I don't need to be on the street. I don't need a frontline expensive store because everybody orders online or through the app, right? So I can be in the back of a shopping center. It's okay because when people want Domino's, they go to the app and they order from the closest store. I ordered for 3 years from Domino's periodically where I lived, and I never even knew where the store was. I literally didn't know where the store was. I couldn't go to the store. Okay. But, if I have something new, Or if I need that traffic to drive by and say, oh yeah, that's there, maybe we'll try it sometime. That's a big factor because your rent could be from $3,000 a month to $10,000 a month, depending on where you have to be. With Dunkin', we have to have drive-throughs, right? Rents are much higher. Do landlords know? You know, and drive-throughs are not easy to come by. A lot of cities are very strict about drive-throughs. So I've got to keep all these things in mind. What is required? What do I need? What is the square footage? When I rent a space, it's going to be based on square footage, right? I pay per square foot. So if I can build something in 1,000 square feet or 900 square feet, or I need 3,000, here's the thing. I can do the same business in a 900 square foot pizza place that maybe I need a 3,000 square foot for this pizza place because they require indoor seating. I have to consider, is the indoor seating in this type of business, does Domino's need indoor seating? Absolutely not. Papa John's? Absolutely not. So if I go to a Cece's Pizza, which is buffet, I got a lot of square footage I have to put up. Are the annual or the average unit volumes high enough? And am I going to be in the same boat? I can do 2 million in sales, but my expenses are so high, my bottom line is the same as if I did 1 million in sales in the takeout, pickup pizza place, delivery.
Mm. Wow.
There's a lot of balancing, and so now if I want to build an empire, I want a chain of multiple stores, multi-unit, and I'm starting with one, I got to think of what it is to scale this. I can find a lot more 900 square foot or 1,000 square foot spaces than I can 3,000 square foot spaces. And I can manage them a lot easier. I need less people. So streamlining, what is the operational cost and things like that. That's where we really see our highest cost now is in rents, and of course maintenance and upkeep of the spaces.
Mm.
So and as the franchisor and owner, I would and now if the franchisor knows what they're doing, if I can put it in smaller spaces and make the same bottom line, because I don't want to look at the number of sales I'm doing, the gross sales. I need to know what the net profit's going to be, because that's where I'm making my paycheck as the owner.
So what I heard and what I'm hearing is start with the end in mind, right? Grow your business to build it to be able to sell it at one point, as you said. So, which is you need to have some sort of vision of kind of what that looks like. And then also what I'm hearing is know your business inside and out. Everyone wants the passive income and I want to work less. But what I know about you, just from all the times that we text and it's, 7:00 and you're like, hey man, I'm still working. Is that like, your business inside and out. And that's how you've grown your empire, through hard work, not through, oh, cool, now I have 10 stores, so now I'm going to, go golf all day or go on vacation all day. Not to say that, you can't enjoy a great quality of life, but your success has not been an accident from, just being hands off in your business and go, oh, cool, I got people that have been with me 25, 30 years. I'll let them run everything.
No, because you need to remember you are always the leader. Leadership is extremely important. In the military, you'll die for your leader. If they don't respect you as the leader, you will never be successful. Those people, if they have respect for you, you don't have to check on them all the time. And you don't have to have all kinds of rules and parameters in place. But you have to be that leader. And I have to be leading what's going on my Slack channel or in my company. I'm setting that example. But here's the thing. If I'm leading correctly, I don't need to talk to you every day. I can go on vacation. I can be gone for 2 or 3 weeks. I can still speak to you. I can be on Slack. I can be putting up the challenges. I can work remotely, even though all my businesses are opening every single day and thousands of customers are going through those drive-throughs. All the systems are put in place to operate so I don't have to operate. Because what am I doing in the office at 7:00? I'm actually working on development of new stores. I'm finding the best, cheapest way to do it. I'm reviewing leases. I'm reviewing franchise agreements. I'm on a call with the new franchisor with like Jimmy John's, we're doing now. This is what I'm doing. But the nice thing is that I know what I need to do, right? Once I put that to bed or I get to where I need to be, I can go away for a week. I can be on vacation and I can still answer emails and such, right? But I have that freedom. If I'm tied to my store, if I built this a different way, I'd be tied to the stores. I'd be in the stores. I'd be managing every manager, employee from my, right? Micromanaging basically the whole business, right? It grows. Micromanagement can still be up here. You have to be very careful with that. And I've never had, one really good piece of advice is I've never had a team lead, a leader, a store leader, a team leader. We don't really use manager anymore as that has not received a bonus. All of them are bonused at the end of the month consistently. And be consistent with it. If you say you're going to give a bonus, then give the bonus. Parameters, profitability, payroll, weekly surveys, and in our case, drive-through times is on there as well. There's 4 factors right now. You start out with a number based on your gross profit, and then that number, either you'll get that full number, it'll be a percentage of your gross profit, or if you miss some of the parameters, let's say payroll or your profit margin, then you'll lose a certain amount of money on there. So basically, every day they get out of bed, they have to watch their payroll, watch the profits, make sure people aren't stealing, make sure things are being done right. The higher the sales, the higher the bonus, because it's based on a gross profit. And then we have a meeting every month. And we discuss all the bonuses. We discuss new things they can be doing in their stores, strategy. Everything is positive. And everybody can see what the other person did. Pin them against each other with competition. We have a trophy that whoever carries the fastest drive-through time for the month gets the trophy in their store. We have a challenge participation trophy. So whatever store had the most people participate in the Slack challenge gets the trophy in their store. So there's, these are the things that are there, but they're all working. They're all basically on automatic. They're designed to just happen. My accounting people populate the bonuses at the end of the month. Everything is set. My analytics guy who's out in the field that's doing the surveys and so on is reporting back. All these things come together at the end of the month. They're all automatic because I set them in place 25 years ago. I've done it with every business. That person, when they get out of bed in the morning, has to have a vested interest in doing it right. Mm. And, the managers can make very good money. And so the busier the store, the more the bonus, right? So you're in a smaller store, you've done a great job, we'll move you up. So you have more opportunity. Or if a new store opens, we may move, give you an opportunity there. These are the incentives. They have to be tied to it. If you want to walk away from your business and go worry about other things, that person in your business needs to have an interest. Doesn't always fix it. It's not perfect. Plenty of managers that we've had to let go, but it gives, it's a scorecard every month. And I tell them, if you were supposed to earn $1,500 this month and you earned $500, you failed. Those aren't dollars to me. Those are those are points. Your possible points when you're in school is 100 points, and if you get a 70, you have a D today. It was failing when I was in school. So they always have to. This stays on them whether I'm here or not. Whether I'm not doing this all month, right? It's automatic. Very important. Whoever's running your business that you're entrusting it to has to have some skin in the game, if you will.
Awesome. Peter, thanks so much for hopping on. I tell you what, I learned a lot. I really enjoyed the conversation. So yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Tariq, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Hey, before we go, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please subscribe here on YouTube if you haven't already. And the biggest thank you that you could ever give me is to share this episode with someone who you think will benefit. That means that we can share this message with more people and hopefully positively inspire them like we have you. So thank you. And until next time, go build your empire.